For lesson 4, your learning target is I can count by units of 6 to multiply and divide. So we're going to be working a lot with our sixes today and multiplying by 6. So when we skip count by 6, how do we get the next number in the sequence? So how do I get from 6 to 12, from 12 to 18, from 18 to 24? What am I doing to each number to get to the next number? Write that on your board and push pause. Okay. All I'm doing is adding 6 to each number. That's what happens when we skip count by any number. We have to add that number in order to get to the next number. So if I start with 6, in order to get to the next number, I have to add 6 to that, and that's going to get me to 12. To go from 12 to the next number in the sequence, if I'm skip counting, all I need to do is add 6 to 12. And that answers this question right here. What do I add to 12 to get to the next number in the sequence? Add 6. And if I add 6 to 12, that's going to get me to 18. Okay, so let's practice multiplying by 6. You should already know what 6 times 1, 6 times 2, 6 times 3, 6 times 5, 6 times 10 is, just because those are easy facts to solve. And I'm going to give you some strategies today to help you solve other problems involving 6. And these strategies don't have to be used with just 6. They can be used with any multiplication fact. So for the first one, since 4 is double of 2, then in order to solve 6 times 4, you first need to solve 6 times 2 and then double that answer. So, solving 6 times 2 first, I want you to write that down and then I want you to solve it. Push pause to do that. So 6 times 2 is going to give me 12. So now I need to double that. And I'm not doubling 6 times 2, I'm doubling 12. So in order to double 12, you can think of it as 12 times 2, or you can think of it as 12 plus 12. So add 12 and 12 together and write that on your board. So 12 and 12 together make 24. So the answer to 6 times, the answer to 6 times 4 is 24. So anytime you see a multiplication equation and it has something times 4, solve it multiplying by 2 first and then double that answer. And the next problems that we're going to be working on are working with doubles as well. So let's move on to this next one. Since 6 is double of 3, in order to solve 6 times 6, you can first solve 6 times 3 and then double it. So on your board, I want you to solve 6 times 3, and then I want you to double that answer to figure out what 6 times 6 is. Push pause to do this. So first I'm going to do 6 times 3, and I know 6 times 3 is 18. Now I'm going to double 18 by adding 18 and 18 together, and that's going to give me 36. So therefore, 6 times 6 is 36. So if I was working on another problem, and I'm going to write it right over here, and it was 8 times 4, I can use this strategy again. First, do 8 times 2, and then double that to figure out what the answer to 8 times 4 is. I want you to do that on your board right now and push pause while you're doing that. So 8 times 4, I'm going to change it to 8 times 2, and I know 8 times 2 is 16. Now all I need to do is double my 16, so 16 plus 16 will give me my answer of 32. So the answer to 8 times 4 is 32. Okay, let's try one using this strategy if we're multiplying something by 6. So I'm going to go up to a higher number. I'm going to do 9 times 6. So I'm going to start by doing 9 times 3. And I know that 9 times 3 gives me 27. So now all I need to do is double 27. And when I add 27 and 27 together, that is going to give me 54. So you can use these strategies with any multiplication equation that has 4 or 6 in it. You just take it back down to 2 and you take it back down to 3 and double your answers. Okay. Some more. If you know that 6 times 6, then you can easily add 6 more to that product to find 6 times 7. And we just figured out what 6 times 6 was by doing 6 times 3, so you should already know that 6 times 6 is 36. And if 6 times 7 is just one more group of 6, then what are you going to need to add to 36 to find what 6 times 7 is? I want you to write that number on your board. So I have 36, and I'm thinking, what am I adding to that? Well, since it's just one more group of 6 to find 6 times 7, I'm adding 6 to that. So 36 plus 6 will give me 42. So therefore, 6 times 7 is giving me 42. Okay, this next one is another double problem. We're looking at 6 times 8. So since 8 is double 4, you first want to solve 6 times 4 and then double your answer. So I want you to push pause and use the strategy that we did on the other two where we had to double them and find the answer to 6 times 8. So the first thing I'm going to do is 6 times 4, and I know that's 24. So now I'm going to double 24 by adding 24 and 24 together, and that's going to give me 48. So 6 times 8 is 48. And like I said before, you can do this with any equation that is multiplying by 8. Drop it down to multiplying by 4, and then double your answer. Okay, so I want you to count by sixes to fill in the blanks. I've already started the first blank for you with a 6. So push pause and count by sixes to fill in the next 4 blanks. So I have 12, I have 18, I have 24, I have 30. Now it says complete the multiplication equation that represents the final number in your count by. So I'm counting by sixes here, and I see that there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 times that I counted by 6. So you need to put a 5 right here. And the number that you stopped counting at is going to be the answer to your equation, so that's going to be 30. Now it wants you to complete the division equation that represents your count by as well. And since we've talked about before multiplication and division being related, the numbers that you're putting right down here in your division equation are going to be the exact same numbers that you have in your multiplication equation. So on your board, I would like for you to write this division equation using the correct numbers. Push pause to do that. So in division, we know that we start with the total. So this right here is going to be 30. They've already used the number 6. So the only number I have left to put is 5, because 30 divided by 6 gives me 5. Okay, let's say we are skip counting by sixes in class. The last number that we say when we are skip counting is the product of 6 and another number. Fill in the equation with the correct factor. So I'm skip counting in class. We know that we're skip counting by 6, and I stop skip counting when I get to 42. So you have to ask yourself, what are you multiplying 6 by to get to 42? If you need to draw an array or equal groups to help you solve this equation, I want you to push pause to do that. I know that if I multiply 6 by 7, I'm getting 42. And to write this as a division equation, I keep the same numbers and I add my 7 right at the end. These equations are related. Now I just want you to practice solving these equations. You can skip count by 6 to solve them. I want you to push pause and write the 4 answers on your board. 7 times 6 gives me 42. 6 times 5 gives me 30. 36 divided by 6 gives me 6. And 24 divided by 6 gives me 4. You're going to need your problem set. If you need to push pause and get that ready, you can do that now. For this part of the problem set, you are just going to practice your multiplication facts for 6. I'm not really going to go over what you need to do for this. It would be good to use some of the strategies that we went over during the concept development. If you need to draw any type of pictures or arrays or type diagrams, you may also do that. But I'm going to let you work on the problem set, and you need to push pause to do this. I'm not going to really draw any lines on my problem set because it will just get messy. So what you should have done was drawn a line from 6 down to 1 times 6. Over here, underneath 6, you should have had 12. And you should have drawn a line from 12 to 2 times 6. You should have drawn a line from 18 to 3 times 6. Under 18, you should have put 24. And you should have drawn a line from 24 to 4 times 6. You should have drawn a line from 30 to, let me find it, 5 times 6 down here at the bottom. You should have drawn a line from 36 to 6 times 6. After 36, you should have put 42. And you should have drawn a line to 7 times 6. 48, you should have drawn a line to 8 times 6. After 48, you should have put 54 and drawn a line to 9 times 6. And the last one, 60, you should have drawn a line to 10 times 6. Moving on to the second part of the problem set, you need to skip count by 6 to fill in the blanks below. We did this on the concept development, so they started with 6 on this one, so then you would put 12, 18, and 24. The next part of this says complete the multiplication equation that represents the final number in your count by. So I know that I'm skip counting by 6s. The next part of this equation, you need to look up there and see how many times did you skip count by 6. So that would be 1, 2, 3, 4. So right here you're going to put the number 4. And then you should know that it equals 24 because that is where we stopped skip counting. And now we are just going to write a related division equation that would go with our count by as well. Since it's division, you know that we start with the total. 24 divided by 6 equals 4. So I want you to go over here to number 3, and I want you to do what we just did on number 2. Push pause to do this. Should have had 6, 12, 18, 24, 30, 36, and 42. I looked over here and I skip counted 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 times. So I know right here is going to be 7. And I ended at 42, so 6 times 7 is going to give me 42. My division equation is 42 divided by 6 equals 7. Okay, moving on to the next part of the problem set. Number 4 says Miss Burns' class skip counts by 6 for a group counting activity. When she points up, they count up by 6, and when she points down, they count down by 6. The arrows show when she changes directions. So you need to fill in the blanks below to show the group counting answers. I'm going to do just a few of these with you, and then I'm going to let you fill in the rest of the blanks by yourself. So far I see an up arrow, so I know she's going to be counting up. She started at 0, 6. If I'm skip counting by 6, then there's going to be 12. And then there's 18. After 18 comes 24. And now I've got the down arrow where I'm going to start counting down by 6s. So if I'm taking away 6 from 24, I have 18. And then 18 minus 6 again gives you 12. Now you're to the up arrow, so starting at 12, you're going to start counting up by 6s. And then you'll see over here you'll get to the down arrow, and then over here you'll get to the up arrow. So I want you to push pause, and I want you to fill in the rest of the blanks for this skip counting activity. Right here, you should have had 18. After 24 and 30, you should have had 36. So you start counting down. After 36 was 30, and then 24, and then I have 18. Start counting up again. So after 24 is 30. Then comes 36, and after 36 is 42. Part B says, Miss Burns says the last number that the class counts is the product of 6 and another number. Write a multiplication sentence and a division sentence to show that she's right. So if you look up there in her skip counting, she ended on 48. So you have to ask yourself right now, what can you multiply 6 by that is going to give you 48? And then you will be able to fill in both of these blanks for the multiplication equation and the division equation. I want you to push pause, and I want you to fill in the correct fact for those blanks. I know that 6 times 8 gives me 48, so 48 divided by 6 will be 8. Moving down here to number 5, Julie counts by 6 to solve 6 times 7. She says the answer is 36. Is she right? Explain your answer. So, what you need to be doing right now is skip count by 6 7 times and see if that gives you 36. And then the first part of your sentence is going to be telling me if she is right or wrong. And then I want you to explain your answer. If you say that she's right, tell me why. If you say that she is wrong, tell me why. I want you to press pause to do this. So Julie is not right because 6 times 7 equals 42, not 36. And you could have also included that 6 times 6 equals 36. You did not have to put that, as long as you put something about how 6 times 7 is equal to 42 and not 36. So all in all, she really skip counted by 6s 6 times instead of 7. Okay, I want you to complete lesson 4, exit slip, and I want you to bring it to me whenever you are completed before you move on.